NBA teams are probing the availability of two-time All-Star guard Zach LaVine, and there's been increased openness from the organization and the player about exploring a trade.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the NBA's 30 GMs are in Chicago today for the annual Champions Classic, the major opening night of the college basketball season.
At the United Center.
And this is where conversations could begin. Now, I thought that you don't usually make trades until mid-December.
Right.
Because so many players who had been signed this offseason aren't eligible to be traded until then, and it makes trading much more difficult before that date.
That's why I wanted to know if it made sense to do it now, because there are teams that maybe had higher hopes that have not jumped out and done anything special, and maybe adding an athletic player like Zach LaVine allows them to do that.
And or a 34-year-old guard who's playing 1996 basketball.
He's going to play all 1996 basketball when Zach's traded.
But his deal is up, and they're not close on an extension.
I think that's later to the deadline, though, Dan. I think a team goes, could we use someone that we're going to start him because we have to start him, but he's going to be the guy on our second unit. I think that's what ends up happening with DeMar. Okay. I'm not surprised by this.
No, I'm actually pleased to hear it. Darnell Mayberry just tweeted, one league source told me this week the Bulls won't have the same roster in a month. Change feels imminent in Chicago. Casey Johnson was talking about his previous reporting about how they did explore LaVine deals, but their price was too high, speculating that maybe now that they've tried running it back and they're seeing exactly what some of us told them they were going to see, that maybe the price is coming down.
Maybe after they had made some changes and said, look, this is what we're going to try and focus on. Can we do this stuff? Can we shoot more threes? Can we be more of a democratic offense? And they cannot be. And the bad part about this is that the two guys that do make the ball stop have not had success. Like, enough of it where even DeMar said to KC last night that he thinks that he guaranteed that he and Zach would get it together. But I don't know if you're this front office, if there are good deals out there for you, you have to take advantage of it.
Casey Johnson has confirmed the Shams Charania report now. He says this new development, which sources confirm, is the openness from both sides to the right deal. LaVine has been extremely loyal to the Bulls, remains committed and professional, but this could be a different-looking Bulls team by the deadline, if not sooner. And he said the Bulls did hold exploratory talks on him in the offseason. The asking price has been high.
There's a part of me that feels like that Zach has played just well enough to get traded.
Fine. And then move everybody. You come to DeMar, no one's trading for Vooch. But if Caruso could
Why not? I mean,
he's too old-fashioned.
His contract in the new world of rights fees in the NBA is not cost prohibitive.
But he is now, the way you look at the position. You look at center now. You do center on the cheap now. You get a rim runner, lob catcher, rim defender,
Daniel Gafford,
but not that expensive.
Yeah.
You do what Dallas is doing, or you do was it Charlotte, where you find just the next guy who can at the very least protect the rim and catch lobs, and you pay that guy $5 million a year. Like that's your running back now. Center in the NBA is the new running back, unless you have a unicorn. And Vooch is just like a close approximation of what people used to want in a center and don't anymore.
Yeah, it's not really. I know that it's an easy thing to say, European players, that it's so unfair to Jokic to put.
He's not Jokic.
That's what I was.
He's nowhere near Jokic. There's only one Jokic.
It's very unfair to Jokic because of how unique he is as a player to really compare anyone to him.
So there's no,
honestly, like the comparison I think about is a guy that we ended up talking about, like Sabonis. Like, That's the comp.
That's another guy that nobody really wants.
No, not this version of Sabonis. His dad.
Oh, well, that's different.
Yes.
If you're telling me
that's what I mean by a comp.
If you're telling me he's 7'4" and is the best passer in the game, and and 350 pounds,
a super high baseball IQ through the roof.
Yeah, one of the best who's ever lived. If you're telling
that's
me
what
that.
I'm saying. That's to me is as far as you got to go for a real comp to that dude.
But I'm saying, like, the Domantas Sabonis is also old school. It is also a guy who's been moved, and that you don't want to spend money there. That's not how you spend your money. You don't spend your money on a guy who gives you 70% of what you think Jokic is.
Right.
That's not where it is anymore. Get a live wire athlete who can affect games.
If you're the Bulls, if you decide that you're going to move from Zach, so you're saying rebuild.
Yeah, and that probably means back to a point A to point B coach. Because Billy isn't going to want to be part of a rebuild. That's not his thing. He coaches stars.
Is there? I mean, this is a question that's hard to answer, but I'm just talking it through. Is there anyone that the Bulls could get back that you could imagine them saying, "Okay, this person will now be the center, what we think could be the centerpiece."
It'd be picks. Those people are in college or playing overseas right now, or they're in the G League Ignite. I mean, there's a lot of good young players, and you certainly are going to have to field a team, and you want good young players, developable talent coming back. You can't just forget that. But no, I don't think there's going to be a centerpiece move for anybody that's going to help you win now.
Billy Donovan's going to be the head coach of Texas A&M football.
There it is. He and Dion. I'm very encouraged by this. Actually, if the Bulls are actually finally confronting the truth of their team, that's a good day.
Yeah, but it's a real big failure.
Oh, but we knew that. We're watching it. That part we baked in. We knew it when they said this is all coming back, that it was very unlikely to move the needle very much. Maybe a little around the margins, and maybe you avoid the play-in. But what were we talking about? If you're deciding that you need to do a different build, and this is the start of it, good.
Are you okay with it being Arturas and Eversley that do that?
I guess, yeah, for now. I don't know what the conversations have been like about what they've said privately. I don't. About what they've wanted to do and when they've wanted to do it and how. But
this was my whole thing. I mean, I guess you end up getting back assets, so it doesn't matter. But this is like my whole thing about Zach, like having a max contract, but not being a max player. And there are plenty of people who are going to speculate, well, this is his version of the Harden plan, where I got all my guaranteed money and now I can go play in the place that I want to go play instead of the place that I've been playing in.
If he wants that, I don't. His motivations aren't really my concern.
I mean, I would have liked to see him doing his best here, because I mean, some of the stuff that you see, and maybe this is his best, and this is what will end up happening with him when he goes someplace else. But how many times, like we saw last week, where it's an in-game situation and Zach doesn't know what's going on?